our NoMAA Stroll Coordinator and Inwood's Mayor, which is what we just talked about, Martin Collins, who has a special statement to share with all of us tonight.
Thank you, Neria.
Martin.
Thank you, Neria. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us this evening and every Thursday at 7:30 for Open Studios with all that has happened over the past few weeks in our city, in our state, in our country, and around the world. We remember today is June 11th, and on June 11th, 1963, our 35th president, John F. Kennedy, gave his very famous civil rights speech, calling it a moral issue. And his words then and today are poignant. It is a moral issue as it was then, it is a moral issue today. And hopefully we will succeed. A rising tide raises all the boats, as President Kennedy said. We hope that the weeks, months, and years ahead will see America seek the highest ground on this important and all civil rights issues. Our sponsor this evening is the Uptown Garrison, located at 821 West 181st Street and Pinehurst Avenue, with cocktails and upscale comfort fare, including breakfast served in a cozy, rustic chic, tilted tile setting. Coffee room and bar is open 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. daily. The kitchen is open from 4 p.m. on every day for takeout and delivery. And you can visit their website for more, theuptowngarrison.com. That's theuptowngarrison.com. And as many restaurants will be opening up as we move from phase 1 to phase 2. We expect that the Uptown Garrison will be amongst the front line of restaurants that will be reopening and allow for people to not only order online, but also order in person at the restaurant, perhaps even inside in the days and weeks ahead. So don't forget to visit the Uptown Garrison. And our thanks to Uptown Garrison for sponsoring tonight's Open Studio with Josefina Hernandez. Neria?
Thank you so much, Martin, and thanks for contextualizing this evening too. It's really important to do that. And thanks again to the Uptown Garrison. Hello, everyone. Thank you for being here tonight. This is our 7th virtual Open Studio. And again, my name is Neria Leyva Gutierrez, and I'm Acting Executive Director of the Northern Manhattan Arts Alliance. And I get the great privilege of introducing our weekly artists. But before I do that, I want to give thanks, of course, and mention that our program is supported in part by public funds from the New York City Department of Cultural Affairs in partnership with the City Council. And again, it bears repeating that we remain grateful for these funders who continue to see the value in art and the value in what we do. So thank you so much to all of them. Last week, when we came together to hear Kathy O'Keefe, who I see here tonight, talk about her beautiful work, there felt an extra layer of weight as we were sort of fresh off the week's heartbreaking and yet so very important events. And here we are a week later, and while the more incendiary aspects of last week seem to have lessened a bit, the core of the message, its relevance and its significance have most certainly not. It is, I think we hope, our before and after watershed moment. In the meantime, and throughout it all, I think it's fair to say that the arts are here. Artists continue to bear witness to the human experience. And so each time we meet like this in community, we all recognize the importance of artistic expression, and we understand how integral it is to change, to recovery, to healing, and frankly, to our very existence. And so I am very happy that we are all here again tonight. And I am moreover happy to introduce tonight's artist, Josefina Hernandez. Josefina is a Colombian artist and illustrator who for the last 3 years has made Washington Heights her home and studio. Her parents cultivated a creative home. Her father's an architect and her mother is a textile designer. In 2012, she graduated from the University of Toronto, earning an honors Bachelor's of Art with high distinction. It was in the course of her interdisciplinary program in Toronto, where she studied visual studies and art history, that she also began experimenting in a variety of mediums, including printmaking, photography, drawing, and painting. But it was during her last year in Toronto, when she took a course on works on paper, that she discovered the process that would define her work. This process has yielded a body of work that consists of the meticulous, intricate, and careful carving with an X-Acto knife of a single sheet of paper that is then beautifully and enchantingly transformed into images inspired by nature, architectural forms, light, and both negative and positive spaces. According to Josefina, her work and its meditative, introspective progression explores the idea of belonging and the relationship between humans and the spaces they inhabit, and the spiritual and material realities of human existence. Josefina has exhibited her work in a number of group shows in Toronto and in New York, including Women in the Heights, both in 2019 and of course most recently in 2020. Her paper cut art was included in the 2019 spring edition of the University of Toronto's UC Review, as well as Toronto's Invisibilities zine. In just a few short years here in New York, she has also worked as an illustrator for a number of Uptown organizations, including live illustration at the Sugar Hill Children's Museum of Art and Storytelling, event posters and visuals she contributed for Booney Coffee, and she is the artist, of course, behind the coloring sheets promoting census awareness for NoMAA. Most recently, Josefina has lent her talent to Roots Connected, which is a national organization dedicated to anti-bias education, and she has also illustrated, several children's books. I am so pleased tonight to introduce Josefina Hernandez. Josefina, the floor is yours.
Hey everybody, thank you and welcome to my virtual open studio. I'm so happy that NoMAA invited me to be part of this Uptown Stroll this year. I participated last year at a regular open studio. But this year, as we know, everything is closed and kind of confined to our homes. So I'm happy to open my home virtually, my home and studio for you all. And did you want me to play my open studio video?
Yes, this is the perfect time to do so.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. 1 minute. Hi, my name is Josefina Hernandez. Welcome to my open studio. Hola, me llamo Josefina Hernandez. Bienvenidos a mi estudio. I live in a 1.5 bedroom apartment in Washington Heights, New York City with my husband. We turned our half bedroom into our studio space. I am a paper artist and my work consists of cutting shapes and drawings out of paper. I see it almost as carving, and it is a very meditative process. This medium has allowed me to bring drawings to life using two-dimensional forms that interact with light and shadow to create three-dimensional installations. Lately, I've been experimenting with dyeing paper using natural dyes. These are jars of different shades of avocado dye. The color varies depending on the quality and quantity of water, the boiling times, and even the avocados themselves. Some have more of a deep blush tone, while others have more of an orange or tan color. This piece is called Sustain. I used cotton rag paper, which I then dyed with avocado. It is inspired by the coming of springtime. and it depicts a patch of daffodils which are blooming. Daffodils are one of the first flowers to bloom come springtime in the city. My work is very much about positive and negative space. In this piece, I also played with midtones using small cuts, as you can see here. I usually work out my design on a different sheet of paper that I use as a matrix. Once ready, I cut through 2 layers of paper, the matrix and the one that will be the final work. I'll take you through the rest of my studio and apartment and share some of my artworks that I have here. That will be followed by a video that gives you a glimpse of what my artistic process is like. And we'll finish the tour with a stunning video and musical installation made in collaboration with some artists and musician friends of mine. Thank you, everybody.
you so much, Josefina, for sharing your studio with us and for this so beautiful and so soulful performance piece video. Your work truly takes on new dimension in your space where, you know, the images seem to gracefully dance with light and shadow, and they tell so many new stories. Really, really lovely. And so I know there have been a lot of questions, and so I'd like to open up the floor to questions. To do that tonight, we have Joanna Castro with us, who is the consultant, NoMAA's consultant for special projects, who will serve as our moderator tonight. Joanna, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Buenas noches. It's a pleasure to be here this summer, a little bit sticky evening, yet for happy, wonderful reasons. And the main one, of course, is having Josefina as tonight's open studio. So please feel free to post questions, comments in the chat box, and we will do our best to cover all of them, if not most of them. Our first question comes from one of our loyal attendees, Liz Ritter, who is also chair of Community Board 12 Parks and Culture. Liz, take it away.
I get to ask the first question.
Oh, okay. I'm looking here. I thought I saw a question from you.
I did, yes. I'm fascinated by the avocado dye thing. And I'm curious, are we talking about how do you make that? Is it the pits? Is it the skin? Is it the pulp? Is it all of it? And I'm just blown away by the color of an avocado as I understand it, and the color of the dye. How did you come to use avocados? I have so many questions about avocados.
I'll tell the beginning. The beginning is I love avocados. I'm vegetarian, so that's, you know, a staple for my diet. And I started composting maybe last year. So I used to live in Canada where composting is mandatory, and moving to New York was a tragedy in terms of throwing all the food to the garbage. And I couldn't do it any longer. So I decided to start composting, dropping it off somewhere. And during that time, I also realized that there's things you can do with those leftover food. Like you can use it for dye. You can also, like cabbage, avocado, onion skins. To answer your question, the way you dye with avocado is you keep the pits and the skins, and then you boil them. And the longer you boil them, they get more color. And also it depends how much water you put. And apparently, depending on the water, like wherever you are, the color comes out different because the water quality is different in every city. Like even some of the dye that I showed in the video is with New York City water. Some other one is from upstate. A friend of mine gifted me some dye, and the color is completely different. So I really encourage you to like experiment, and it's really cool. I've been dyeing, most of my white clothes are now pink. And I really just wanted to use it for my work because I'm always looking for new ways to interact with paper and like figure out different ways to like do more myself rather than just buying the colors ready-made. Yeah.
Wow. Who knew we would also get a culinary lesson? Learn something new every day, especially during the open studios. Our next question is from Neria.
Thank you. I have a question. Josefina, we had the good fortune of speaking to you a little earlier this week. And I wanted to ask you about one work in particular that you shared with us. And I'm speaking about your architectural work. the Break of Dawn image that I was hoping you might be able to tell us a little bit about. Michelle, do you happen to have that? Oh, she does indeed. Perfect. Could you tell us a little bit about this work?
Yeah, so this work I completed last year. Last year was the bicentenary of, so first of all, I'm a Baha'i, which I don't know if people have heard of the Baha'i faith, but it is a world religion that basically speaks of the oneness of humankind and the oneness of all religions as like a progression from like Christianity, Islam, Baha'i faith. Like we just believe that all the messengers that have come from the same one God. And this piece I made in honor of the 200th anniversary of essentially the beginning of the Baha'i faith, which was in 1844. 1844, the 200th anniversary, I mean, not of the declaration, but of the birth of the Bab, who is one of the messengers of the Baha'i faith. And this room is where he declared that he was a messenger of God. And to me, there's a picture of this room that always captivated me. And I wanted to like honor it and make, I don't know, just like give a tribute, pay tribute to it. And also here you can see lights and shadow, which is me playing around with the sun, with the sunlight, because that's a huge part of my work. So the work is not static, like it keeps changing throughout the day. And yeah, I think I'm really satisfied with how it came out. And yeah.
It's how long does a work like this take you typically? Because I guess you say that you sort of revisit it as, you know, the sort of the time changes and you're sort of open to different kind of sort of atmospheric changes. So how long and how do you know when a work like that is complete for you?
So this artwork, since I was working from a picture, it was pretty, like, I knew when it's gonna be finished because I was trying to render that scene. And it took over 100 hours of cutting. Like, that's before even the drawing itself. And I would say works can take anywhere from like 8 hours of cutting to I've spent over 2 weeks also. And with this work, actually, I began it and I didn't like the way it was going. Like some cuts I wasn't satisfied with, so I started over. Because once you cut things, you can't really erase. It's not like or you can't paint over it. But I kind of learned some things from the first time I started and that I translated into the final work.
How do you make those corrections in your process?
I have to just like start over if I want to, or sometimes when I'm doing organic shapes, like if I'm working on like a flower or something abstract, I just change course. But yeah, maybe my whole time doing paper cutting, I've restarted a piece maybe 2 or 3 times. Yeah, sometimes I just like take course. It's kind of like the having chance taking part. Yeah.
I think we really appreciate all the detail involved and just understanding a little bit more of your process. So I think through this piece, we really got a peek into your process. Our next question is from Meredith.
Hi, Josefina.
Hi.
Your video was beautiful. It's very meditative, and you describe your work and your process as very meditative. So I think it was very apropos. I have kind of a 2-part question. One is kind of tagging on with an earlier question about your materials. So you basically use a natural dye from avocados. I'm a very novice collector of works on paper, so I know that there are sensitivities to works on paper that you don't necessarily have with other media. So do you use any kind of a fixer or something to prevent fading with your dyes?
So I recently started experimenting with avocado dye. I've done one piece that I used avocado with, but I did test it out for fading. I tested in a different sheet of paper, like I dyed with different materials, and avocado is pretty light fast. Like it didn't fade at all compared to other dyes that I tested, like cabbage. Cabbage kind of faded, as well as beets. Beets really faded to nothing. But I can let you know how it keeps going.
I mean, it's interesting that you mentioned using other types of vegetables because, of course, they're all natural, but I guess there's something in their chemical makeup that either makes them more or less vulnerable to light. Thank you for that. And also kind of a follow-up on the materials. What kind of paper do you use? Or do you kind of experiment with different types of papers? Because I would think that also affects the saturation of the pigment or the dye.
So I've tested different kinds of paper. Before doing before doing paper cutting, I used to do printmaking. So I really love cotton paper. So some of my works have been on 100% cotton paper. And also I love rice paper. It is very delicate and very, like, each paper has like a different quality. So you kind of have to get used to it as you're cutting, because some tear more easily, some other ones you have to apply more force or more, like, I don't know. So I don't know, there's different things with paper. When I tried to do colorful artworks, if you look at my website, you can see I have also some really colorful. Okay, so this one that Michelle is showing right now, that one I painted by hand with acrylics, and that is cotton paper. Michelle, do you want to go to the first two? Those ones are Japanese cotton paper. And you can kind of see how airy they are. Like, if you were to stand in front of it, it just kind of like flows. There was one of them in the video also, the one that I was kind of like lifting up. That's also Japanese rice paper.
Okay.
And if we keep going down the slideshow, one second. Next one, yeah, that is actually that kind of paper that you use for pastel drawings. I think I like Canson and Strathmore. I don't really know the names, but if you go to any art store, when they have the pastel papers, I use those a lot. And it even says in the like paper description that they are light fast. So, because I also care about color and I wanted to preserve well, knowing that it is paper. So all of these are actually made with that pastel paper. And
so the pastel refers to the weight of the paper or to the color? That it's
I don't, so it's a type of paper that maybe Joanna or somebody else can help me with, but usually people buy this kind of paper to draw with pastels.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think that's the name of it, actually. I'm sorry, I don't know.
It's
yeah,
it's the texture, because the little tiny bumps really capture the chalkiness of the pastel.
Right.
So yeah, it's a texture.
Okay.
So it is kind of like a medium weight paper. It's way thicker than the rice paper and thinner than the 100% cotton paper.
Okay. I have one more question. I don't want to manipulate all your time and go on and on about this. Last question is, so you, in those pictures that Michelle just showed and in the video, we're talking about how you like to play with light. So obviously with a paper cut, you have those positive and negative spaces that are so important to important to the overall feeling of the work of art, and also kind of the translucency of what you're trying to convey. So if you're using like a rice paper, that's a lot more fragile than kind of a more heavyweight cotton paper. Are all of your works of art meant to be hung so that you can see the shadow, or do you mount some of them on a different colored backdrop?
So like these ones that we're seeing right now actually are framed with like a back, you can see it there. I framed them with the background color. So this piece right here has 3 layers, the green, then blue, and then kind of light yellow behind it. But I made it so that they're kind of interlaced. And if you come up close, you can appreciate the layers. And then sometimes I also frame my artworks in between 2 pieces of glass. So it's just floating without any background. Yeah, I think they're meant to be hung if you're in a gallery setting, but at home for preservation purposes, they wouldn't be able to be hung.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much. You have beautiful work.
Thank you.
Actually, the last piece was part of Women in the Heights 2019, if memory serves me right.
Yes.
Our next question comes from Armando Batista, fellow Uptowner. Armando, haven't seen you in a while.
What do you mean? You're seeing me right now?
Well, I haven't seen you in a while. Yes, good to see you.
Hola, hola. Felicidades, Josefina. Congratulations, hermana. So I wanted to ask about your process and point of view. So I'm seeing just from your work that you obviously have a point of view that literally you're using. And so if you can talk a bit about that, like in your eye, when you're seeing something that's inspiring you to do your cuts, like they're very specific, to that angle. If you can talk a bit about that.
Interesting question. So I think I'm really captivated by little details and little moments that people might just pass by and not even notice it. Like I'll look at a shadow that is being cast by like a tiny plant on the wall, or like a flower popping up from like a fence. And I take a lot of photos. So if you've ever walked around with me, you'll know I'll stop and take pictures all the time. And they really inspire my work. Like I take tons of pictures, and then from there I make compositions for the artworks. So you can see here overflowing, that was based loosely on a picture that I took once. And I think maybe what I would say my point of view, it is kind of like in the details. You know what they say, right? The devil is in the details. Yeah. And I guess you can also appreciate from my work that I'm obsessed with details. Like even just within my work, like little tiny lines, and yeah.
So it sounds like, just if I can follow up, so it sounds like you're taking these images, right? Right, photographs as sort of like documentation. And then as you start your creative process, something else happens, like your imagination kicks in, or this other thing, like this intuition or something kicks in to say, well, okay, I'm going to do this with it. It seems like there's that other part, this other magic that comes into it, that you're not necessarily trying to replicate the photo, except for the example you had of the Baha'i temple. Sounds like you were really trying to get that, but then there's that other portion, right?
Yeah, definitely. And there's so many choices that you can make with what you take out, because there's only 2 things you're doing: you're leaving space or removing it. So I make a lot of choices as I'm going. Some other ones I make ahead of time. But I do think it is a very intuitive and meditative process for me. Yeah.
Cool. I look forward to buying one.
Thank you, Mando.
Thank you, Mando. Great question. Well, and taking advantage of that comment if someone is interested in purchasing one of your artworks, which is the best way to contact you?
I have a contact page on my website that you can use, or also Instagram or email. My email is really easy, hello@josefinahernandez.com.
And what is your website?
My website is josefinahernandez.com. Yeah. Oh, and I want to say also that that video that you saw of my process was made by Felicia Sopani, who is actually here today. I saw her name pop up. So I'm really happy that she was able to come.
Wonderful. Felicia, if you'd like to say a few words about the collaboration, about the creation of the video, please feel free.
Sure, thank you. Honestly, that video is all Josefina. I made it technically, but the beauty of that video is her process and what she was making. And I was just in awe from the moment we started. She was just so concentrating on getting the details of her piece, and she really was in her own world. And I'm so happy that she opened up her home for us to capture that. And the meditativeness of the video is just also trying to reflect her meditative process. It really felt like as she was creating, she was meditating. But it's all her. The beauty is all in her.
Thank you, Felicia.
Thank you. This is not a question per se, yet I love the comment. And I would love it if Nadima could say a few words. I'm going to read what her comment said. I have known Josefina for a few years and have invited her to gallery in the gazebo last year. So proud of her. Her work is unlike anything I have seen. Amazing. Nadima, would you like to say a few words?
Well, I'm just, I know Josefina and she really blowing my mind with the work she's doing, because when I first met her, she did some children's workshops in the, in the garden, in Bruce's garden. And she was doing workshops for children, making paper flowers and things like that. And then I discovered her work, and I included her in the show, the Medicine Wheel show last year. That one particular piece that was also in the NoMAA show. And of course, the two of us have been in those Women on the Heights show together, So she's so special. She's a beautiful soul, a beautiful young woman. I trust her with my life. She's just like a granddaughter that I never had, And she just blowing my mind when I saw that piece she did for the Bob. It was really a mind blower, Her work is like, I've never seen anything like this before. I mean, she's astounding, but I understand where she's coming from, because even though I've known all these years, I didn't know her parents were architects and designers. So of course she was in that incredible environment that was really nurtured her as an artist. Because for me, my father was a photographer and a mural artist, So, those things are important to know, because that you're in an environment that, if you're in that kind of environment, there's no, the sky's the limit, And I'm just like looking forward to what other things she's going to do, which is probably going to blow my mind some more, because she's just, she's emerging, and she's just emerging beautifully. And we both know each other because we're both Baha'is. And so the spiritual life, that is reflected in her, she's walking the walk, she's talking the talk, but she's also walking the walk. that she's a beautiful example of the teachings of the faith, of oneness of humanity, of equality in men and women, you know. And there's, you know, I don't want to, you can go online and read about it yourself, but I just think that I am so proud of her. I am so proud of her. She's doing a beautiful job. And I was so excited when I saw that they were going to, you know, have her profile her work.
Thank you, Nadima. Those are beautiful comments.
Thank you.
Very much too hard.
My darling.
Love you too, Nadima.
Switching gears a little bit, our next question is from James Bosley.
Hi. The early works that you showed on the, especially on the video, they were gorgeous and beautiful. And I was thinking to myself, how wonderful is it just to indulge myself in some just beautiful work, and what a great relief it was for what else is going on in the world. And I was grateful for that. But the other work you showed later on, the flowers with the chain link fence, and some of the flowers bursting through that chain link fence. I was wondering if there was more of a political agenda going on with that, you know, considering, you know, all the things that we've gone through in the last couple of years, whether that was intentional or whether it was just something that you visualized, you know, outside of the political realm.
So those works, actually, I began in 2017. And again, it was through photographs that I started to. Chain link fences are kind of like such a city thing that is not beautiful. It's more like necessary to protect your garden or whatever, or protect your property. In New York City, there's a lot uptown. Like there's all these properties that are empty and all fenced off. And I was interested to see how nature keeps growing, and like you cannot stop nature. And to me, I do sometimes think that, like in my work, nature symbolizes a little bit more of the spiritual realm, whereas architecture and man-made things are the material part of us. So it kind of makes me feel like no matter what, our spiritual lives should be flourishing. And even in difficulties and when we're being oppressed, that's when there can be more room for hopefully spiritual growth. So I see that even happening right now with, first of all, the pandemic, and then with all of the police brutality and the marches that have been coming up for Black Lives Matter. You can see how there's like a spiritual awakening and blooming right now.
Was it intentional though, this whole process of breaking through these fences, or was it just something that happened, you know?
Definitely, I'm not a political person, so I would not say it was a political statement, but I might feel like it's a intuitive thing of the times, you know, like, because we absorb so much of society. And I think maybe Neria mentioned, I moved here only 3 years ago. I used to live in Toronto, Canada, and coming to New York City, I've been trying to find my way of belonging here. And lots of those pictures have been taken around in the neighborhood in Uptown, and trying to find, oh, this is my home and this is what I see around. And I guess it's interesting what you say, because I didn't purposely do that, but I can see how it does look more, it could look more political or more of a statement like that.
Sometimes the best political art is unintentional. It just comes from that instinct. So thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so I think unless there's one more final question, I think we're gonna transition to the last part of tonight's program. Going once, going twice. All right, I think that's a wrap. So Nydia, take it away.
Thank you. Oh, wait. Let's see. Oh, I think, okay, there we go. Thank you so much. Those were really, really soulful answers and really interesting questions, and I appreciated all of them. We are going to move tonight to our rapid fire question segment. And Josefina, I didn't mention this to you, but I decided to sort of throw in some new questions.
Okay.
So you've been paying attention to the prior questions and answers, then maybe you're not totally prepared. So you're our guinea pig, but I think you're game. I think you can do this. So we're just going to ask a few questions and you'll just answer them sort of off the cuff, whatever occurs to you, you know, within a minute or so, and it'll be fun. Are you ready?
Yes.
Okay, here we go. All right. This is an oldie but goodie, right? What are you most looking forward to post-quarantine?
I'll say going to my favorite pho restaurant downtown.
Which one's that?
It's on West 4. It's called Saigon Shack.
Okay, that sounds good.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, so here's a new one. It's kind of strange, but just go with it. All right. You're gifted a lion. Okay. You can't regift it. You can't sell it. You're stuck with it.
Oh.
What are you going to do with it?
I guess I'll release it into the wild and see what happens.
Okay, good answer. Okay.
Oh, just don't release it into the park.
Yeah, right. Exactly. That's okay. All right. What is your idea of perfect happiness?
I'll say being with family.
What is your favorite place, uptown or in New York City?
I love the Brooklyn Botanical Garden. Yeah, even though it takes a good hour and a half to get there, I make my way pretty regularly.
More than the Bronx Botanical Garden?
The Bronx one, I love it too, but they don't have a free day. Like, they actually do for the grounds, but they don't let you into the greenhouse, which is my favorite part.
Gotcha.
Yeah, but when I did pay, I loved it.
That's a good thing, right? Okay, I love these kinds of questions because I feel like they're fun and revealing. Okay, you've got a dinner party. You have 3 guests, not including your loved ones, dead or alive, real or fiction. Who are they, and what's on your menu?
Okay. Maybe I'll say some artists. So I would say Matisse, Van Gogh, and Frida Kahlo.
Ooh, that would be an interesting. Okay.
For the menu, I'll go for Mexican.
Mexican
That's
food.
my-
Okay.
Yeah.
That's an intense crowd, but okay. All right. Okay. Invisibility or ability to fly, and why?
Invisibility.
How
Because
come?
you can everywhere. You can secretly go everywhere. I could go to the Bronx Botanical Garden for free.
That's a great answer. Okay. All right. What are you binge watching these days?
Oh, my husband's gonna love this. He keeps making fun of me. We're loving Ozark.
What season are you on?
I don't know. Is it 2? 2. Yeah.
Okay, you're on 2. Yeah. We're on the same season. Okay. All right. Okay, good. All right, here's a question. You're stuck on a boat. All right. You have all the essentials you need. What 3 items are you so grateful that you remembered to bring?
I'll say my swimming suit. Probably maybe a book. I don't know which one yet. Is it okay?
Yeah, that's okay.
and maybe my phone, because I maybe try and get reception somehow.
And you can take photographs for your next inspiration.
That's true.
All right, good. Okay, what is on your nightstand?
Right now I'm rereading 100 Years of Solitude. So that's on it. And then probably an empty cup of water.
Empty cup of water, okay. So wait, so you said you're rereading. How many times have you read it?
Well, first time it was when I was maybe 14 or 15 in school. And I think I've read it 2 other times since. Yeah.
You're reading it in Spanish or English?
In Spanish. I've read it a couple of times in Spanish, once in English. Spanish is better if you can.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think that's right. All right. Okay. Here's your final question. You've done a great job with these. What is your motto or your words to live by?
I think one would be to do anything you do, to do it with excellence. Yeah, so like that, I do that. I apply that to my work and hopefully to other areas of my life. Yeah.
That's an aspirational motto, I think, for all of us here, right? Those were great. I really appreciate those. Thank you so much for those answers, for sharing your beautiful work, for your really soulful video, really a truly beautiful work, and so complex, and also I think timely, you know, in its sort of meditative aspect as well. We are going to thank you all again tonight, and I'd also like to thank the Department of Cultural Affairs. And before we close out our evening, I want to turn the floor over again to Martin Collins, who has a few announcements for us. Martin, are you there?
Yes, I am. Thanks, Neria, and thank you everyone for joining us tonight. Before we get to our announcements, Michelle is going to post a 3 questionnaire on the screen, and we ask everybody to please take a moment to give us your feedback on tonight's program. Your opinion is important, and we would like to hear from you. During our program this evening, we had some breaking news. We were talking at the top about restaurants and their reopening. Well, and to that end, there will be a press conference at 10:30 a.m. tomorrow morning on Dyckman Street and Broadway with Councilmember Idanis Rodriguez, the chair of the City Council's Transportation Committee, and New York City Department of Transportation Commissioner Polly Trottenberg. They will be joined by local restaurant owners and community residents to discuss the changes, the Expanding of Open Streets initiative, and as we move into the phase of New York opening up, more open spaces will be needed, and restaurants and outdoor dining will be an important part of that. So that'll be at 10:30 a.m. tomorrow morning with Councilmember Idanis Rodriguez and DOT Commissioner Polly Trottenberg on Dyckman Street and Broadway. We would ask everybody to please see the Northern Manhattan Arts Alliance website, NoMAA.nyc.org, for information on all arts opportunities and events coming up, including these. This is a collaboration between scores of Uptown Arts groups. It's the Uptown Arts and Culture Summer Camp. There'll be 2 sessions, July 6th through the 17th and July 20th through the 31st. We also want to remind everybody about the entries being extended, the deadline for the 9th Annual Dominican Film Festival. The deadline is now July 1st to submit your entry. The Northern Manhattan Arts Alliance Census Coloring Contest for Kids will issue a $50 prize. The deadline for submissions is June 20th. And finally, the Community League of the Heights and Sisters Uptown Bookstores Book Club with author Karen Taborn will debut this Saturday, June 13th at 2 p.m. This will take place every fortnight. And for information on those events and many others, please see our website, NoMAA.nyc.org. And finally, a reminder to please join us at 7:30 p.m. next Thursday, June 18th, for Michelle Asarch and her virtual open studio. And for a glimpse into her artwork, please visit her website, michelleasarch.com. That's MICHELLEASARCH Again, thank you to everybody for joining us tonight. We look forward to seeing you next Thursday, June 18th at 7:30. Thank you.
Martin, and if I can also add, for folks who have not completed the census, please do so. Extremely important. It only takes between 7 and 10 minutes. You can do it online, via phone, or via regular mail.
And the website to do it online is census, C-E-N-S-U-S, census.gov.
Martin, so much for that very thorough listing of all of the upcoming and important events, and Joanna also for reminding us of the importance of the census, and also the importance of sharing that message to others. I know most of us have already done that, and we know the importance, but I think we're really sort of on the hook for getting the message out, and I think we can all do that with our networks. So we appreciate that. Thank you so much for being here again tonight with us, and every Thursday night. This is truly, to me, something that I look forward to weekly. Every week is different, even though we sort of follow the same format. We have this sort of same kind of a lineup of events, but every week is unique and beautiful and wonderful, and truly, again, it's a testament to what we do in our community, and how important art is to moving us forward as we all coalesce around this shared existence. So thank you all so much for being here. We hope to see you again next week. Josefina, thank you so much for being here tonight, and for sharing your work with us. Truly beautiful. Good night, everybody. We will see you soon. Take care. Bye.
Thank you. Good night.
Bye-bye. Good night, everyone.
Bye.